Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. GM. How's it
GM,
going? Hello,
all
Alec.
good. How have you been?
I'm good. Ready for another session sixth. Another week going through.
Yeah, it's been flying through.
Yeah, how are process going? Did you have time to set up everything from last session? We did went through smart contracts, prompting, configuring your environment, link your smart contract in the front end a lot. So maybe you had to watch the last session one, two times to get through it. Sorry if you had to go through my bad jokes repeatedly, but that's part of it, right?
Going
Ah,
through the
look, what?
bad jokes twice.
Yeah. You had a fair share of those already. Let me know what we have in plans for today, Alec. We do have some announcements, some quick announcements, right?
Yes. So, firstly, if sorry for this small schedule change. We supposed to have third web on Tuesday, but we have them today. And James, the head of engineering at Yuga, we'll have him towards the second half of the later in the program. Essentially, we don't have a date on that yet, but we'll post the updates really soon. Before we actually get started, just a reminder: please submit your homeworks because that's how we track your progress. That's how we actually monitor your going live, your progress, and that's how we actually measure that, like, if you actually completed the program or not. Also, any of the coupons or any of the goodies that we're going to drop will be paired with your submissions. So, for example, Third Webs has been generous to support us with their pro plan. So a starter plan, but it's a paid plan. So if you submit that, we will send you a mail with the coupon codes, and you can get started. And before that, anything before moving forward, yeah, like last session was a bit on the higher side, so it's like really hardcore, like hands more, let's say, like getting hands dirty. Today we're going to try something else. Like we have G from Third Web, and who's going to walk us through how you can vibe code your way through and then integrate all those amazing, like, Web3 features right off the box. So moving forward.
That's great. That's great. So without further ado, let me bring G forward so that we can get into little bits of it. Hello, G. Please feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, can you hear me well? Yeah, I think it's
Yes, great.
cool. So nice to be here. Thank you so much for having us here. My name is G or Giselle. People call me G in the Web3 world. I'm from Third Web. I work in the solutions team at Third Web. So everything to do with solutioning, support, success for all the projects, developers out there trying to build out their dApps. Today I'll be showing a little bit of a mix of things. So I'm sure many of you know Third Web, right? But we have been going through a lot of building in the last month. We have built a bunch of new features, a bunch of things, brand new API, uh, great things that you can do and use for basically building any app, any type of app, especially with ApeChain partnership. This is a great way of showing that. So I'll be showing an overview, a little bit of what we have at the moment, what you can use Third Web for. And then I'll jump into a little bit of our documentation. We have a playground as well, where you can basically live test all our features, which is great. And then we do have a lot of AI features at the moment, focusing on vibe coding and how to build faster. So I'll be showing a little bit of what we have for AI at the moment, how to use it, what kind of things you can do. So hopefully I'll see a lot of you building, using Third Web and our AI tools for faster development. Yeah, so we can get started. I'm going to share my screen, and I'll start with a presentation that I have. So I'll explain a little bit for some of you that maybe have never heard of Third Web or so. Please, Alok, let me know if anything, because I don't have a second screen at the moment. So I'll
Oh,
be just blindly showing here, but I think you can see my screen and my presentation, right?
yes, everything looks good.
And any
Cool.
problem, we
So
can call you up. Don't worry.
yeah, Awesome. So yeah, so Third Web Mission at the moment, it's the fastest way to build an app, monetize it, and scale to millions. So we're going to be talking about a little bit like what that means, right? So for some of you that maybe don't know Third Web, we're an open source full stack developer platform for on-chain apps, games, and AI agents. And we have a bunch of tools that we have been building, especially in the last few months. We have been very heads down building our brand new API, but we also have an SDK that you can use with different languages, React, Unity, a bunch of things. And we also have our new API that I'll be showing in more detail, where you can do really fast transactions, payments, Insight, which is our indexer, and server wallets, many things to do to build your apps and interact with contracts, payments, everything, every type of app. Really, we work with like, consumer apps to gaming apps to like DeFi. So it's very wide, the options that you can do and build out with Third Web. One of the things that we focus a lot on is its wallets, which is basically, we call it like onboarding users, right? So one of the things when you are creating a project, when you're creating your app, you need a way to connect your users to your app, right? Most of the time, depending on what type of app it is, but we have a lot of features to do with wallets. We focus a lot on UX at the moment. So we have built many type of wallets that you can use because maybe you're building some app that like not necessarily it's like a Web3 audience, right? So like you want maybe to go to the masses, and many people don't know about blockchain or have no idea about like what a wallet is. So we have many options to basically onboard users using like common social logins like email, phone, any type of social. But we also have the, common Web3 ways of connecting like any type of external wallets. I think we support like more than 500 different wallets that you can basically connect with our product and features. And we also have in-app wallets, which are non-custodial. These are like very UX friendly to onboard people. Again, we basically with in-app wallet create a smart wallet for users, and users only need an email, they only need a phone, like whatever kind of way you want to onboard them. So these are really good options to look up when it comes to onboarding or connecting your users to your app, and the different ways that we have to do that. Then we do have account abstraction, which is one of the biggest things, I think, like what I have seen. I've been working at Third Web for like 1.5 years now, and like some of the things that I see projects working on a lot, it's integrating account abstraction with their projects, right? So what does this mean exactly? Like basically, in simple terms, like it's a smart account that users can create, like I mentioned, with any type of social login, email, phone, I don't know, whatever, Facebook, whatever people use. And this automatically creates a smart account deployment for them. And what this means is like we work with different chains, of course, like ApeChain and many others, and their paymasters. So basically what we do is like we sponsor the transaction for them. So people don't have to pay for gas fee, or every time that there's a transaction, you usually must have some funds in your wallet to do some gas fee transaction. In the case of account abstraction, which I think the next slide like also explains a little bit of how this works. It's a gasless transaction that like basically improve a lot your UX in your app. And I really recommend trying this. This is actually one of the homework that I would say like you could try to when you're integrating Third Web with your app, like enable account abstraction for ApeChain, because this will change the game for your app. When you want to basically onboard, and scale your app to like thousands or millions of users, you want to make it easy for these users to log in, to do a transaction. If they have to pay for gas, it's one step more that they have to do. Also, many people have no idea what even gas means, so they might not have even funds or anything. So this is a really good feature that I'll be showing a little bit more in detail how it works. But yeah, this is something that we get a lot of use from, and it just improves any type of app when it comes to like gaming, minting, any type of payment or transaction, and users don't even have to care about having gas or funds in their wallet. So this is a great one. Then other products that we have at the moment are payments, which are really huge, right? So this also goes for like a bunch of different type of apps. It could be a DeFi, it could be a gaming app. At the end of the day, many users will have to do, transactions, transfer tokens, sell their token, buy tokens. So we have this new API that is actually great for creating a payment, completing the payment, swapping tokens. It works with React, with TypeScript, like even with Unity if you're trying to build a game app. And it supports different flows, like I was mentioning, like it supports like gasless transactions, external wallets, like smart wallets. A really great API to use when it comes to, just creating a payment method to pay someone, to complete a transaction or a payment. And this also, I'll be showing more in the playground, but this also great. We work with some third-party products as well, like Stripe and Coinbase, which makes it super easy if people want to use their credit cards or debit cards to pay for something. They don't even need to have crypto in their wallets. They could just use their card to pay for different things. And our API will handle in the backend all the, the heavy lifting of that. Together with payments, of course, we're talking about transactions. Like I feel like everything in blockchain is a transaction. When you're sending an NFT, when you're minting, when you're buying something, even when you're playing a game, if any of you have played like Web3 games, you always have to do certain transaction if you're like claiming a prize or you want a reward or something like that. So we also have an extensive API that works with transactions, and it's pretty simple. You just have to define your chain ID, where is the transaction coming from, where it's going to, the data, the value, and it basically will track and monitor that specific transaction. You can basically use server wallets, which are like backend wallets that you can create. And you can use vibe coding for creating this type of wallets, or you can just use like a simple user wallet with a JWT token to verify that, sponsor gas, and monitor the confirmation and the status of that transaction, which is great for apps, right? Like you want to see and monitor all the transactions that are happening in your app, especially when the app starts getting busy and you have like many users and you're trying to scale. This API, it's great for that. I'll be showing a bit more about that. And then one of the things that we're famous for is like basically deploying contracts. So we have, few different features and ways of deploying contracts. And we're going to deploy a contract from the dashboard today to show you how simple it can be. So it goes along as well with vibe coding a little bit and making things like faster and more simple. But basically in ThirdWeb, we have a huge library of pre-built smart contracts that you can deploy using any of the chains that we support. And you can basically deploy with like a simple click from our dashboard. I'll be showing a little bit of how it works. You just need to choose one of our templates and then deploy. But we also have a CLI to deploy any contract that you want, and you can just do npx ThirdWeb deploy. Also, we have our new API where you can use programmatically to deploy and auto-verify any type of contract that you want, which is, these are great tools for when you're trying to deploy contracts. Like if you're not like a contract developer and you just need like to deploy a token, to deploy an NFT collection or whatever it is, like these are great tools that we have for making that easy and faster. So yeah. It kind of looks like this. This is one of our like explore page. So you can see we have like a whole library of contracts there. All of them are audited already, so you can actually click on the audit document and see that if you want to read more about it. And then in here, I'm just showing like a screenshot, but these are some of the most popular contracts that our users deploy on our platform. So you can see a variety of things like simple NFT drops, marketplace contracts, account factories, edition drops, and one of the most famous, like the token ERC20 drop. Like that could be like a meme coin, that could be like tokenomics that you're trying to build. So yeah, this is great. And then when it comes to our CLI, it's super simple CLI. You can just npx web deploy and like deploy any type of contract. It will give you automatically the link that will bring you to the dashboard of that contract, and you can basically read all the information from the contract. Just to remind everyone, like TerWeb is completely open source, so you can actually go to our GitHub and see, how is our platform built. We also have all our contracts, smart contracts, open source, so you can clone that, download it on your computer, run it on your local machine, even customize. Like we have pre-built templates, but you can customize them with any functionality that you need, that you want, and then deploy using TerWeb. So these are kind of like great features. So that's a little bit of an overview. I'm going to be jumping into like a few windows here to show you different things, right? So the first thing I want to show is basically our docs. I know that for developers and any type of builder, not just developer, docs are super important, right? Like you kind of have to go to the docs and, get a sense of what kind of products they have, what kind of things. So our docs are portal.terweb.com. You can go there and you can see basically this screen. You will see in the homepage, one of the first things we have is AI. In the last month, we have been building a lot of AI products. So we have a blockchain LLM that integrates all our tools and all the blockchains that we support into our LLM, which is great. You can do a bunch of things there, transactions, swapping, anything that you want to do in blockchain, you can do it with that, and it makes it super easy. We also have our MCP that I believe in the last few workshops, you guys have seen it a little bit, how it works. You can create agents. You can use it in your cursor environments to make things easier. And we also have the LLMs like .text, which is a great reference that you can add as a document to your project. And it will basically read all our documentation when it comes to that, like our TerWeb documentation. And every time that you're bytecoding, it makes it super easy, because you can just like tell the AI, like, hey, read these docs. Like, I want to build these. I want to build a connect button. I want to build this and that. And then some of the other things I was mentioning. So we have like a bunch of products like wallets, payment, bridge, transaction, contracts. So you can kind of go here and explore all the things that we have, all the libraries and languages that we support. Obviously, I won't go like into so much detail here because it's a very extensive documentation. But basically, one of the latest things that we have been working on is our TerWeb API. This one is a great one. I actually love it. I've been building like a good few projects with this lately. Super easy to use. You can even test it live here, and you can kind of see and call different type of endpoints depending on what you're trying to do, whether that's authentication, wallets, contracts. Like, we have a bunch of things. I really recommend to go there and try it on. Here is our MCP. Sorry.
A kind reminder to stay hydrated out there. Okay, grab a cup of coffee, water. That's very important. Well, Alex, there. Where's my water? No, I'm out of coffee. You need to solve that.
Brazilian coffee, you're lucky.
Oh, I wish I had Brazilian coffee in New York. Maybe in SF.
Meanwhile, we can just address some of the questions. I did not get my env file in, and thus no wallet connection yet. I think
Okay.
it's generic question.
Yeah. I guess Hodl was mentioned that he couldn't get his env file configured yet, right? This is from last session. If you need more time, take your time to do that. If you imported your project from V0 and it had some environment files already, you need to copy those from the environment to your project. If you started from scratch from a template, you need to create that env file.
Usually it comes with the env example, which has some of the keys already like pre-entered. So what all you have to do is enter those values, and then you can start using. I mean, those variables would be like you would have the right key. So there is the key and there is the value. So in the example file, the key is already in there. So for example, RPC URL equal to. So you would just enter the RPC URL.
Yeah. Hey G, are you ready to come back?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
I've been
no
having
worries.
like such a bad cough lately.
No worries. No worries.
Sorry.
So yeah, if I'm coughing and muting myself.
It was like that last week. Don't worry. We can take it from there whenever.
Yeah, let me just change my screen here for a sec. Just one.
Okay.
Take your time, no worries.
No worries. But that environment file configuration question is good. By the way, maybe I can show something in 1 minute exactly about that. If you are bringing your app back to V0 or to Vercel, to whatever you're using for configuring, for example, all the changes that we made on last session, if you push to GitHub and you want to bring it to Vercel, you can come here for environment variables in the settings, environment variables. And then, for example, you put your next public third web client ID here in Vercel, and then boom, you can use all of your blockchain features and all inside Vercel if you have the environment there. Okay, so Hodl, this is one of your questions. This is something that you might want to try there as well.
Cool. Am I sharing my screen? Maybe.
Let me pull your screen up.
Okay. So I'll try and talk slowly, because if I get excited, I get coughing. But one of the things I want to show, like go straight into showing this, is our TerWeb dashboard. Basically, for any of you, if you haven't, please create an account with TerWeb. You just need to go to terweb.com, log in, and create an account with email, phone, existing wallet, whatever you want. And once you log in, the first thing you're going to see is basically this team overview. Of course, my projects, I have like a bunch of projects because we use these for like, test and creating different demos and stuff. But it will first be like completely empty. And all you have to do is go and create a project here. Oh, sorry. I'll create a testing project so you know how it works. Basically, in here, you have the option to allow all domains or like restrict them. I recommend to restrict them if you can, if it's like a production app. But if you're just testing and doing demos, this is fine. And I want to show this because this is very important when you are integrating TerWeb. You will need and you will have to create your API keys, basically. So see, I created my project successfully. And the first thing that it's giving me is like my client ID and my secret key. This you should basically save like, in a safe place. Basically, obviously, don't expose your secret keys or anything try and save them in a safe place. Again, if you're just testing and just using them for a demo or just like a testing that you want to do, it's fine. You can just copy them somewhere that you can have them when it comes to integrating third web. So once you do that, you will go into the project overview, right? And you can see here you have your API keys, a few instructions on like what you can do with that. And I want to show this a little bit like because we have changed our dashboard like quite a lot. Before, it used to be super simple and like just mainly focusing on like deploying contracts, but basically now you can do a bunch of things and have a lot of visibility into the projects that you're working and integrating with third web. So for example, you can create different type of wallets from here, and you can even have a graphic. Like, of course, this one is empty, but you can have a graphic of like the total number of active users in your project. You know, you will even see like a table where you see the user identifier, like what kind of login method did they use, bunch of things that you can use here, settings. This is great, like to go and explore. So only thing you need to do is like log in into third web, create your account, and you will go into this dashboard. Then we also have like a few of the things that I was mentioning in the presentation, right? So we have like transactions. You can create a server wallet from here, and then have a list of them. You can even deploy contracts, which is something we're going to be doing. Actually, I'm going to change to my other project here. This is one of the projects that I use for building stuff. And one of the things I want to show here, I actually deployed a contract earlier on ApeChain, but I want to show how to basically deploy it super easy. So once you go to deployment, you will see all the templates that we have of smart contracts. So you can like kind of explore that and choose the one that you want to use. We also have these two CTAs that are quite simple. So if you want to launch a token, ERC20 token, like a meme coin or anything, you can also do like NFT collections and different type of protocols. I'll be showing like quickly how to launch a coin. So of course in here I have so many projects, but you basically select your project, and then you just need to fill up this form, which is pretty simple, right? So we're going to launch a ERC20 coin using ApeChain. So I don't know, let's do testing G coin, and then you'll, you know, fill up this form, put whatever image. Let's do this banana I downloaded earlier, meme coin. You can, you know, add your socials or whatever you want to add. Click next, and you'll see here that, you know, we're asking about the coin distribution. So you can kind of like basically add the total supply, you know, how much is the token, anything that, you know, you want to define in here. And then we go next. It will give you a little bit of a summary of the token, that of the, you know, specifications and metadata. And then we say deploy. Hopefully it deploys smoothly. Let's see. This will take like a few seconds. So yeah, it deployed the contract, and now it's setting the claim conditions that we can actually change after. So it deploys successfully, and you can go and see the contract. And it looks, this is kind of the contract overview. So you can see on the top, we have the name, the address of the contract and the explorer. And then we also have this token page, where basically it's a public token page where people can, it looks like this, basically. People can just buy the token, and you can see like analytics. This one is like public. You can see in the URL is like, this is the contract address. And I'm connected to here, but like basically you connect your wallet here. And if you have enough funds, you can just buy the token that you just deploy. And yeah, it will say like successful. So let me change to the other one. So this is the contract overview basically, and you have like a few steps here. Basically we have like one of the important things is like permissions. So you can add different addresses as admin, and you can like, do a bunch of permissions here. You can also set claim conditions. So for example, automatically I have this public with allow list condition, but like you can remove that. And let's say you want to do allow list only, you can do that, or you can just do a public one. And in here you can define, what exactly you want to drop, how much it's going to cost. If it's limited, like you can just put a number to it, or you can just leave it unlimited. Same with like claiming per wallet, you can put like, okay, just 2 per wallet, or you can just put unlimited and then save. And then basically when people go to, for example, to the public token page and they want to buy the token, anyone can buy this token. This is a great feature that we have because you can claim, burn, airdrop, transfer, like you can do a bunch of things just from the dashboard without even like writing a line of code, which goes along a little bit with the vibe coding situation because it makes it super easy. If you want to do any type of like app and you need to have like a few different contracts, or you need to launch a token, like you can do so by doing this. So yeah, I wanted to show like a little bit of how that works. And then another thing I would like to show is our playground. I think you can see here in this window. So our playground is like playground.therweb.com. Basically in here, everything that I've been talking about, like wallets, transaction, like all the features that we have at the moment, you can test them live, right? So let's say you want to see how the connect button works. So for example, this is the model. And as I was saying before, in order to onboard different users and customers to your app, you can, you have to think like, how do I want to onboard people into my app, right? Like, do I want them to have Google accounts? Do I want to be more Web3 and use Farcaster? Do I want them to connect a Web3 wallet to it? So you can kind of choose and play here. You can actually even disable this and just like do normal Web3 wallets, or you can even say like, okay, I don't need any of these. I only want like email. So only email then, right? And that way people can log into your app. In here, you can also see the code snippet that we use for that. So in this case, this is a code snippet from our SDK, and it's a simple component that we have called connect button, where you need to pass your client, which is the client's API that we created earlier. You just need to create that client and pass it. Of course, in a secure way, it would be like hidden in an environment or something. And then you basically define here the options that you want for, your users. So you want to create like just email, which is the option that I selected here, or do you want to use like different type of wallets? Basically, that's all the code that you need. Then in other thing I wanted to show is account abstraction. So you have an idea of how it works. We have a few protocols, right? Like this one is kind of the most standard one to do account abstraction. And basically with the connect button, which is the same button I was showing before, you just need to add the property of account abstraction, define the chain, and just, say true to sponsor gas if that's the case. And then like in this code snippet, we're showing like basically a transaction, like how you can claim this. I'm already connected here, and you're supposed to be able to claim without having any funds, right? This might take a little bit, but yeah, so I was able to claim there, and you can then see the transaction. This is like in basic polyapp, but you can do it in any chain. So I wanted to show a little bit that because I feel like this is a great feature. We have a few different things like you can use with in-app wallets. So it would be kind of like this. You just need to define that in the in-app wallet properties. And you can also build your own custom UI. So if you're not trying to use like our model like this, you can create your own UI. And yeah, like whether you're using like whatever library, React or Tailwind or anything like that, you can just, create your own type of model. It will display everything that you need, like your wallet, your balance, anything that you need. And this one is a great one as well for account abstraction. And then I wanted to jump a little bit into Cursor as well. But first, I want to show let me share this screen here. So if you go to our documentation, right, which is portal.web.com, you will see at the top, we have like the AI menu, and you can go to MCP. I'm not sure if this was shown before, but this is like one of the simple ways to add this to your project. You can select here a few different basically things. If you're using Claude or VS Code or anything else, I'll be using Cursor for this. And all you need to do, like if you actually click on install here, it will open your Cursor. Wait, I think I need to share the whole screen to see the cursor because I think you won't be able to see it right now. Entire screen. Okay, yeah. So basically, I was showing, I think you can see all my screen there, right?
Just 1 second. Matheus, could you pull up the screen? Yeah, that's good.
Good. You can see it now, right?
Yeah, looks good now.
Okay, so perfect. What I was showing is like depending of what program you're using or what software, you just click here and you will see that it opens up in your cursor. For example, I was building a little demo before the workshop, and you can see here all you need is your secret key, which is the one exactly I show how to get. When you create a project after web, you can see your secret key, which is different to client ID. They're both different. So I'll be using this one because this is like a one that I use all the time for this type of things. Open here. And then you just like basically add your secret key there, install, and you will see that is like installed and the tools are enabled there. Also, I have added this file, which is sort of similar. It has my secret key and how to install that, right? One of the things that I've been playing around with this is like, it's really good. You basically have a few options. For example, I did this token that I was showing before. Let me go back to contracts. And I did this like banana token. And like you can basically copy the address. I think, yeah, this is like the token details, basically. And you can do a bunch of things with that. I have a few prompts that I was using here that I can share with you guys after. But one of the things I did is like, you can associate the ERC20 contract, right? Just by doing this command and giving the contract address, right? And this is great because then you can just basically grab those details and start building from there. So, just to make sure that it works, I'm going to be asking Cursor, like, what's the name and symbol of this token contract. Hopefully Cursor is not super slow. Sometimes it is. So yeah, it would give me like the details, which is great. And then I could ask, like, check my wallet balance here, for example. And it would say, like, I have 8 token. So in here, you can do a bunch of things. One of the cool things is, for example, if you want to use the LLM, you can go here and you can use like the API reference or the SDK, depending of what kind of thing. So if I just copy this and say, like, I don't know, I want to do a connect button using the web API. Also, they already have the information in the MCP. So obviously with Cursor, the thing is, like, there's a lot of prompting that Cursor will do. Sometimes it can make mistakes, of course, and you will have to kind of check that. But it would make it just like way easier to create different apps and things. In here, it's more like I'm kind of showing a bit of backend, things. So for example, you can, like I said, like, you can see the balance of an address, of a contract address. You can see or associate that contract, type and functionality, name, chain ID, everything to do with that contract. In this case, I deployed the contract using the dashboard just because it's super easy to do so. And I already show how to. I don't know if I show the token page, but yeah, in here, you can basically claim the tokens, and this page it's public. And then let's see what it's saying. So it's basically adding a bunch of things. Yeah, and sometimes it can be like, yeah, like it could work, it could not work. We need to kind of start working with the AI agent to make it happen. So yeah, it will tell me a bunch of things here. It created a file. It's using JavaScript. I should have basically specify if I wanted like React or something, but like I can see it's suggesting these multiple wallets, setup instructions. So we need a client ID, right? And then customization. It's saying like npm install, but like probably this won't work. I don't think this is gonna work right now because it's not finished yet. But basically we could say, let's add a per web client ID. Let's see if we will create this fast enough. Yes, we have the connect button, which is here. This we can change and rename. So basically this, what I'm showing is like, I'm basically like live coding a little bit. Okay, I'm changing things while Cursor is still changing things. Let me wait until it finishes. So yeah, basically like a bit of live coding here, but I just want to show like how kind of like you can just simply start chatting with Cursor if that's what you're using, or any type of program that you're using. I'm gonna go ahead and use my client ID, paste it here, so we can pass that over. And then we're defining here the contract and all. Right, so we save these, and let's see, can we run the connect button now? Let's see what Cursor says. Also, just bear in mind, you can use any type of like languages. like here I didn't specify much, but you can like specify. Usually I use TypeScript, but the case is that Cursor started using, vanilla JavaScript, which is fine. But you can even tell Cursor, like, I'm building an app with their web, you can do like Next.js app or anything like that. You can see here it's having like some issues to install. Sometimes this can happen. Classic things when you're kind of like demoing something. Here, I'm not sure if it's gonna work. Let's see. It's trying to run a connect button in a HTML. Let's see what it does. Okay, so it did connect my smart wallet. I mean, this UI is super simple. You can even tell Cursor to change that, right? And it connected to my smart account, obviously ApeChain, and then I have that amount. So I just want to go into this file a little bit and see, where is it here? Well, this is a HTML. This is not usually what I use, but like you can build any type of thing. Like usually I rather just use like, React, and it's very simple. You can see how like it's using in App Wallet, different type of things like showing and setting like balances. So we can see like the balance of that. And then it will show you a little bit of the app, the third web provider with the client ID that we're passing. Like we always have to pass the client ID in order to work. Otherwise, it will give you like an error. And then we have the connect button that I was showing in the playground. So you can use that connect button any way you want. You can customize it, add like different, styling and everything. And this is just a simple way to show a little bit of what you can do. Obviously, from here, you can do like so many things. I want to show like our GitHub as well, which I feel like it's quite important for developers. Examples. And this is a great way of like starting your demos or projects like super quick, right? So this is like the homepage of our third web templates. And we have a few templates using our API that you can see here. And we also have a few templates using other things. So you can kind of see here Next.js and other things. We even have like a marketplace and everything. But in here, for example, I'll choose one of the simple ones. We have like a bunch of things, like some are like games, some are like using AI. This one is using AI, and you can see the repo, completely open source. You can clone it and download it to your local, to your Cursor or VS Code, whatever you use for coding. And all you have to do is basically set your variable. So like I was mentioning, like you just need to get your client ID and set that. And in this case, you need to get your secret ID as well and set that and just run this app, which is pretty cool app. It's an AI wallet manager. You can try it on. There's even a video here of how to use it. And then this smart wallet as well. I think I did this one. But it's a simple smart wallet app where you, using our API, where you can basically connect here. Oh, I think I'm in the wrong account. Anyway, but yeah, you can basically clone this and connect any type of, using any type of wallet. And you can see like we're specifying here, like even the API endpoints and everything. So when it comes to the, building your demos, your projects or anything, you obviously want to do it as quickly as possible. You might not have like so much time. I really recommend going into the third web examples and, exploring a little bit of the things that we have here. We even have things that are like gaming, gaming projects. So you can kind of like select your email and do a bunch of things. I mean, I don't want to take too much like doing the whole thing, but all of these projects, we usually do it vibe coding with Cursor, as I was showing. So as long as you're installing the MCP and using the LLM as well, because you can also use the LLM like super easily. Let me close a few screens here. It's huge. So you can basically grab this and, you know, put it into your project. I'm sure these have been shown already, but you can do LLMs and like just paste that there, save it. Cursor will be able to read that. But even just to do the MCP, this is already like huge for building, and you will just need to, you know, chat with the AI a little bit, and like even like we did now, right? Like even I'm not even specifying like that much. I'm not even giving that many details, but it already was able to create like an HTML super simple version to connect a wallet and just see the balance of that wallet, for example. From there, you can take it even further, of course, and you can explore all the products that we have, and like basically depending on what type of app you're building, you can, you know, tell Cursor like, hey, I want to use the payments API. So in that way, one of the key things I would say is like go to the API reference, and depending of what you're trying to build, you can just kind of like go here and, you know, tell Cursor like, hey, I want to use this API to create a payment, and just follow the instructions here, basically, and paste them in Cursor, and Cursor will be able to help you to build that. Like the thing that I just show is like a super simple thing because we're just live, and like kind of like live coding, which can, you know, bring a lot of errors and stuff. Like it's a classic, right? So I don't want to like be losing too much time on errors or stuff like that. But there's like infinite possibilities with these. Like just start by installing these basically, or using the LLM if it's easier. Yeah, I don't know if people have any questions so far, but I think I've covered quite a bit.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to mention that we went exactly to this point. Last session, we pasted the LLM as.txt and used that as context. And I was going to ask which of these you recommend for building the apps, because we have one light version, one middle version, and a full version that sometimes doesn't even fit in the context. So, any recommendations on that on which context file to use for building the apps?
Yeah, so I would recommend, like, I really like the MCP is good. Wait, let me go into the docs again. I really like the LLM because it makes things very easy, and it depends if you want to use the API reference, if this is enough for the app that you want to build. But also our SDK, it's really, really complete. Like it has like all the features, all the things. Like if you're building like a TypeScript React app, I would recommend using this full documentation SDK LLM, because it's really good for when it comes to building like a real app, like anything that you want to have like different features together. You want to have payments, you want to have contracts, you want to have bridge, you want to have tokens. I would recommend this one a lot. But also you can combine them. I have built like a few projects lately where I'm combining the SDK and the API. API tends to be super quick, like it's very, very quick. As I was showing, like you can go into the reference and kind of see the different things you can do. We even have the 402 payment, which is quite new. And we're trying to actually get all the chains onboarding into this, but this is great if you want to go and try it. API is super fast, super, easy to use. And then when it comes to a little bit more complexity in the apps, I would recommend the full SDK documentation, basically.
That's great. If you're building a D app out there, you can explore all of these options. Alok, should we start picking the questions one by one, or do you have any
Yes.
comments before that?
I was thinking we could start with the third web questions, and then we can cover the generic questions towards the end.
That's great. So, for example, one of the early questions would be about the configuration itself, how to configure TED Web. Went over this. There is a question about a sponsored guest for ApeChain. That is a recommended workflow for testnet to mainnet. We're also going to cover this in this camp, but any highlights here?
Yeah, so how to configure, I show a little bit of how to get your API keys. That's one of the first things that you need to do. So create a ThreadWeb account and create a project. First thing you need to do to integrate and configure with ThreadWeb, get your client ID and secret key. You have to pass that information into your app. So that's key. Otherwise, it's going to give you an error if you try to do anything. For sponsor gas, yeah, I show as well in the playground. If you go to the playground and go to account abstraction, you can see even the code snippets of how to set up the sponsor gas. So it's pretty easy. It's just like two properties that you need to add to your connect button. And then in your, actually, I can show a little bit if I share my screen. Share here.
Yeah, I was going to say that like a demo would be great to how to show that, like, for example, a user is doing an action and that each action is actually a transaction underneath and the user doesn't have to sign anything.
Yeah, so basically when you go inside your project, right, the project that you created, your keys on, right, and everything, you can see on the left menu, it says account abstraction, right? So here you will have like a bunch of like sponsor transactions happening on that project. But also if you go to settings, this is one of the first things that you need to do to create like your sponsorship policies. You can create like spend limit, for example. So you have to watch out for this, because if not, like obviously it will charge a lot, but you can create all sorts of like limits. You can even restrict to different chains, like 1 or 2 chains, whatever, depending. You can also restrict to contract addresses. So if you just want to use it for a specific contract address, you can do so. And, deploy account factories and all. And then when it comes to, I think the easiest way to show a bit of that is here where I was showing before. So I think for ApeChain, you will use this account abstraction 4337, just so you know. Each chain, depending if they have support for the other protocols, basically. But just to show a little bit quickly, it works like this, right? So if you're using the SDK, you would use a connect button that looks like this. So let me disconnect this. All you have to do is add this property here, define the chain. So you have to define the chain here, and then basically put sponsor gas to true, right? How it works is like you connect a wallet. So let me connect this wallet here. You can see this wallet it have like zero funds, right? And then if I want to claim this NFT, this is just an example. Users should be able to claim even having 0 funds in their wallet, because we're setting the sponsorship to true in that specific chain. So basically, yeah, you can see it was minted and it gave me a hash, which it should show, yeah, like a successful transfer. In this case, we're using like this particular contract, but like obviously you will define your chain and the type of contract that you're using. This is just a simple example of how to use the sponsorship gas. The way it works is basically everything that's happening in the front end, in the client side of things, you can always have an overview of that by going into your dashboard here, right? And it will tell you, the amount of gas sponsored on mainnet or in testnet could be as well. You can use testnet or mainnet, and you can kind of see a graphic and even the transactions that are happening inside that project. So I hope that gives a little bit of an overview. Also, if you're looking for the code, you can go here to the templates, and we have account abstraction example. So in here, I believe this is basically the same as the playground. So if you're going into the sponsored transactions, it's very similar to what we did just now, right? You can claim without having without having any funds. And if you want to see more in detail how it works, you can go into this repo, which is all open source, and you can go into the gasless page and kind of read a little bit of the how everything is set up here for the contract that we're using, for the smart account, the NFT collection, and how to set up that in your own apps. So I hope that kind of like clarifies a little bit how to set it up.
Wonderful. No, great explanation. The next one is a little about configurations as well. To deploy contracts via third web and automatically verify them on the blockchain explorers. Is there any instructions how to do that in the dashboard?
Actually, our contracts are auto verify. So when you deploy them, automatically verifies the contract. So you don't need to do like an extra step to verify it. I'll show that as well. I think it's easier, but
That's great.
Basically, if you go into contracts here, whether you're deploying a contract like I showed earlier in the UI, or if you're using this CLI to deploy on your Cursor or VS Code, let's go into the ApeChain Explorer here. Sometimes we have issues with depending of the Explorer, but basically it will auto verify. So the contract that I deployed, you see here the check mark, right? That means that the contract is verified. And also when you go inside the contract, it will show you the whole code, right? Like it will show you the code of the contract, meaning, yeah, the contract have been verified, and you can actually see all the conditions that that contract has, all the transactions. So you don't need to go into verifying the contract. Like Third Web automatically does that for you when you deploy the contract successfully.
That's great. Because sometimes picking the correct compiler versions, the correct like ABI and parameters can be tricky, especially when you have a lot of contracts, proxy contracts and all that. This is great that it's done automatically.
And I think like everyone has to go through this thing every once in a while to verify the contracts, and then for some reason the bytecode doesn't match. It's a lot of hair pulling, so this is great.
Yeah, this is great. Actually, people love this feature. I know sometimes it could fail to verify, especially for proxy contracts and stuff like that. If developers are doing some sort of customization or something, when using the CLI, watch out for any errors. And if you are having any issue with verifying, like I recommend to contact support, like our support team, and we will make sure to verify the contract, and you don't even need to go through that pain.
No, that's great. And we have a question here, which is good for us to stop for a minute and go over some of the details, because when we are explaining for vibe coders how to build this app, sometimes we are skipping the whole explanation of what is happening under the hood, right? So Husser was asking about the m file. He did it correctly, but it's still like going through the motions without understanding on each of those steps. So we'll stop for a minute here and actually explain about this .m file, how to deal with it there in Cursor or in your local environment if you're using it, and why it's so important to keep it safe, right?
Yes. So basically, I guess he's talking about the Cursor one that I was showing here, right?
Yeah, but without aiming the cursor, yes.
So, I mean, obviously Cursor generated this file for me, right? At some point I told Cursor, like way up there, to generate an env file for my project. So like the cool thing about vibe coding is that, like, if you are using, for example, Cursor or Claude, which is really good as well, it will know what exactly to put in there, and it can create that file for you. All you need to do then is like fill it up. So at the beginning, this was empty. So at the beginning of the workshop, I show a little bit how to get your client ID. So let's say the cursor is giving you this file. You just need to fill it up with the right information. So in this case, like for example, what's the chain ID? You will add the chain ID. What's the token address? You can add the token address, like you can go into their web here and copy the address from there, from any type of contract that you just deploy, and copy it there. So that's basically all you need to do when it comes to EM files. Obviously, there's another part of this, which is like when it comes to deployment. But of course, we will need to do like another huge workshop to explain this. But like, let's say you're deploying your app into Replit or Vercel or any of those. You have to make sure to add these variables into your deployment environment, which are different to your local one, because your local one is your computer. And then when it comes to deploying your app to a public URL or anything like that, the same environments that you have here, you have to add in that place, whether you're using Replit, whether you're using Vercel or anything like that. If you're going through a little bit of a loop of like, I'm lost, I would suggest like talk a little bit with Cursor or the AI that you're using. Even you can even do ChatGPT, and you can say, you can do a few prompts to say like, hey, I'm trying to configure this client. What exactly, like step by step, what do I need to do to add the environments to Vercel or Replit? Like, how do I do that? It will explain you like, how to do it step by step. But when it comes to your local, like to your, code editor that you're using, yeah, you also have to set up this environment, because otherwise, for example, when you're integrating with their web, it won't work. It will give you an error if you don't put the environment. And then just to show you how it works, like basically we have a file here for environments. Of course, in this particular project, I'm just doing like a simple JS that Cursor created for me. But all I'm doing is processing the name of the variable, which in this case is their web client ID. And this is going to read that environment, right? It's going to read this that I have in this file. It will process that and read it in order to initialize the client for their web, initialize all the features that we're using. You can even see in our connect button, the connect button that I show at the beginning, we are passing the client ID here, because this is one of the first steps that you need to do to initialize the client. So all I'm doing is naming the variable here, and then like the whole project would read it as this is the client ID, basically. So when it comes to security, obviously in here, for example, in this connect button React component, basically people can read the name of the variable, but they cannot read the actual value of that because I have it hidden in the env file. So this file is completely hidden, and it will be hidden from GitHub or any repository that you're working on. Even though this is like one kind of like easy kind of security you can do, there's also even more steps that you can do. Like when it comes to going into production, like when it comes to building an app for production and scaling the app, you can do like AWS, you can use Google keys to like basically save your keys, not even in your environment hidden file. You can save them in the cloud somewhere else. That would be the most efficient way to do it when it comes to security. But for building a demo and just testing out a few ideas and projects, just create a env file, and that's all you have to do. And then you just pass the name of the variable, and that should do the trick, basically.
That's great. Great explanation. Wonderful. We have a bit of a little technical question here now. Does the web support delegated assets on wallet scans?
Not sure what it means, delegate assets. If they can kind of expand on that question, I can see maybe if you guys have more information of what they're trying to ask. But yeah, I mean, like, we do support delegating assets. If you're using like server wallets, for example, which you as an owner create, you can definitely, delegate assets to any wallet. But I'm not sure if that's what they're referring to or something else.
Yeah, maybe it's like when you approve someone to spend your tokens, and then you can like remove all of these approvals. Let's say you want to swap a token, and then you need to approve the token for Uniswap. Fibor, I'm sorry if I'm getting your question incorrectly, but I was assuming this is what you're asking. For example,
Actually,
in
there's
MetaMask, you can undelegate the tokens and all.
yeah, I was saying that like there's a follow-up to that, like checking the signed in wallet. Yeah, like this part. Yeah.
Checking the sign wallet for specialties. We do have like different features and properties like hooks and everything that you can use for signing different wallets and interacting with contract. Like like you can specify, like, for example, for Ape contract with only this and that, and create different like functions. So I think it's possible. I'm still confused about the question, but yeah, like, I definitely think it's possible if you go into our docs and explore the contract hooks and everything. We have a bunch of things how to interact with a contract, and even in those type of like use cases, if you're trying to sign a wallet or anything like that, you can do so.
No, that's great. If you have a follow-up, let me know. We can pick on the chat. Okay. The next question is about the same topic we expanded before about the flow from going from testnet to mainnet. There are some overall things that we're going to explain later about like auditing and all. But if you can answer about the things regarding to third web, any specific recommendations, maybe the env having a separate environment, the wallets, and all that you want to do when going for mainnet?
Yeah, so this is actually a great question. I feel like people often get like confused. When it comes to third web, I would create two projects. I would have like kind of like as I show at the beginning, you can create different type of projects inside your third web dashboard. I would create one project for testnet and one project for production or mainnet, right? So you can have two sets of API keys. So if you're using testnet, it's possibly because you're still building, still testing, right? So those API keys, you can kind of be more light about them and like, hide them in an environment file or whatever. So, and then with mainnet, if you want to go into production, you can restrict the allowed domains that I show at the beginning. Like you can restrict to specific domains of your app, and you can have like a bunch of more security measurements in there when it goes to going into mainnet. But for a workflow for deploying, like, honestly, there's not like a specific workflow. Like you would have to basically deploy twice. So the same contract that you deploy on testnet, once you test it, like usually what I do when I'm building an app, like I use any type of testnet that I want, right? So I test things. I can deploy a few different contracts with different functionalities. When I'm happy with that contract and I know like this works and this is exactly what I want, then I use that model and just change the chain ID into the mainnet ID, basically. So depending of the workflow that you're using, if you're using the dashboard, then you just have to fill up another form with everything and your different chain ID for mainnet. If you're programmatically deploying contracts, all you have to do is literally change the chain ID, and that's all. you have to just redeploy into that chain ID because it's a different blockchain essentially. So you just need to redeploy that into the mainnet chain ID, pay for the gas fee that you have to pay for the transaction, and then that's it. But that would be my way of doing things. I don't know, maybe some people have other recommendations, but it really depends of the workflow. You know, if you're using your local machine, if you're doing dashboard, if you're doing CLI, I would just always use testnet first. And once I'm very happy with the contract and all the specifications, then I go into mainnet and just change the chain ID for mainnet, and that's it, redeploy basically.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, exactly those nuances. This is the questions, how to navigate the path of configuring all of that inside the web. Wonderful. So I guess this question from Croc was about copying and pasting. For example, the documentations that he mentioned, the code snippet itself. So in last session, I even demonstrated how the AI can explain about things, like explain what is what is an ERC20, what is an NFT 721, 1155. We did a quick demo on that. Maybe Croc is asking about the AI helping their navigating the documentation and those little requirements as well.
Yeah, so I think he's saying like he's more technical, right? More than non-technical. So yeah, AI is super good even if you're very technical, because you can even, once you like we showed before, once you have your MCP configure, or if you're using the LLM text file, you can tell your AI to tell you exactly, like for example, the functions, the hooks. You can specify like, hey, I want to do payments. So like what APIs are available for payment. It will like give you a summary of all of that. If you're a technical person, that's great because you can read that and like basically understand what you can do with those APIs and what you can build. Also, some great things about the AI is like once you tell them like, hey, I want to build, I don't know, like a connect button that does this and that, you can then like the AI will build the file for you, right? Like the React file, the component, whatever it is, the API. But then you can see, like you can read the code and see exactly if that's what you want. Like, for example, I'm also very technical. So I usually interact with the AI a lot because when I see that it's doing something wrong, let's say in the technical side, I'm like, hey, like this is not what I meant. And you can then go even deeper and specify like, this is the exact endpoint I'm calling. This is what I need the return to be. So yeah, definitely AI helps a lot for technical people to get more specific, especially when it comes to a technology or developer tools like TerWeb. Like it can show you like exactly what we have like available, and then you can interact in more detail with the AI, just like you interact with any other developer. Like if you had a developer beside you, it would be the same. It's like, okay, we're using these. Oh, but this is not the way we want to architecture this. We want to do this. So it's the same. So you can even go deeper into the technical side of things, or you can, for the non-technical ones, you can just use simple words and it will usually understand as well for building.
No, that's great. And I guess if I got it correctly, he was speaking about the gas last config. So you've got to copy and paste everything. So
yeah. So yeah, definitely it can help with the gasless config because it will read all the TerWeb documents. And in our documentation, we have like a bunch of sections that it talks about sponsoring gas and how to set it up. So the AI will help you basically configure that. Then once you configure that in your code, remember that you have to set up some spending limits and everything on the TerWeb dashboard. That's what I showed previously. If you just go into your project, you will see in account abstraction menu, you can basically set up like all your sponsorship rules, we call them, because they're kind of like rules that you have to set. And you can specify like by contract address, or you can have it like open to any app. You can put spending limits. So let's say your users are not like completely emptying your paymaster basically. So yeah, you can do different things, and AI can help you set up that once you install the MCP or LLM, whatever you're using. You can tell them like, hey, I want to configure sponsor gas, and it will know exactly how to do it.
Yeah. I was stressing more on this point on the last weeks on what you should do without technical expertise, what you can vibe code with safety, and what you should not try to do without having a technical co-founder or something like that, right? So at some point, we even experienced that last session. You should stop trying to vibe code things alone and seek help, seek assistance of a co-founder or a teacher, a tutor. We have this one mentorship that we can offer, right? So you can email us, you can ask questions on Telegram. So maybe configuring the gas-less payments, paymaster, especially mainnet, should be something that people don't want to vibe code that, right? Maybe they want to actually ask a technical person to jump in at this point, right?
Yeah, I agree. It would be a bit of a more advanced configuration. But if you have a technical person to help you out configure that, it's a great feature to have. But yeah, also like I've vibe coded with things like Lovable, so like you don't need to have Cursor specifically or Plot. Like if you're someone that really is non-technical at all, but you have an idea of what you want to build, try out Lovable and paste the LLM text that I showed previously. You just like copy that and paste it into Lovable, and Lovable is very, very like non-tech friendly when it comes to those things, and it can help you build like a simple, minting app or whatever you're trying to do. And you can do a combination of using the dashboard. That's why I wanted to show the dashboard a little bit, which is like non-code. So you can use the dashboard to deploy different, like even you can launch like a meme coin, and then with Lovable you can like build an app to mint the meme coin or to buy the token, for example.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. We used V0.app in this bootcamp to introduce, but Lovable is quite the same. Lovable would use the Vite SDK for third web instead of Next.js, right? If I got it
I
correctly.
think so. Yeah, I think I use the Vite. But yeah, that's true. V0 is also a really great one to use for not technical people.
Yeah, yeah.
V0 is amazing. I love it as well.
Lovable, V0, Bolt.neo, there are many out there, Replit. It's just that some of them prefer, they like shove a framework decision on you for some reason. So Vite and Replit and Bolt.neo, they try to go Lovable, Bolt.neo and Replit, they try to force you to use Vite for some reason. And V0.app would allow you to use Next.js. I've experienced that for a while. If you are a non-technical vibe coder and you don't know the difference between those two frameworks, okay, go with either. It's good. But some templates out there would assume that you're using Next.js, and if you try to vibe code them with Lovable Replit, it could go wrong. So this is a good suggestion, G. If Third Web Vite SDK can work on Lovable, it's a great developer experience. Good suggestion.
Yeah, good one.
We have two more questions. Croc saying when he makes the first million ape coin, that can be soon. Who knows, right? Maybe this project in this camp is going to hit millions and millions easily. So he's asking, my contract will obviously get attention from scammers, hackers, exploiters. Where does the auditing fit in the third web workflow?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when it comes to auditing, like there's a few different audits that we talk here. So when I mention audit, like all our contracts are already audited, so you don't need to go and audit yourself or pay like an audition agency that will charge you many many dollars to do that. And so that's one thing that makes the contract safe, right? And the way the contract is structured and everything, it's basically a very safe contract that is completely open source, verified in the blockchain. And, it's not like scammers, or no one can like, how do you say, like hack the contract, right? But when it comes to like your token being successful and getting attention, that's like another conversation. That's basically, depending of how you're selling your contract. So we're talking about tokenomics now here, because it's like, okay, if you have a successful token that it got a lot of attention, where are you selling that token? Is the token in any DEX, for example? Like, is the token already available in DEXs? So that's one thing. So that means that anyone can buy the token, meaning scammers can buy the token, meaning basically whales can buy the token, like anyone can buy the token, and you cannot prevent that from happening. If you're talking about you're just selling the token in your app, I guess there's a few things that you can do, but that doesn't really involve TerWeb anymore. Like, TerWeb here comes as the tool for deployment, as the tool for that. But then there's a part of your app where you're gonna have to do some business logic on like, okay, what type of people I'm allowing to buy the token, right? Like, you can restrict that. You can do claim conditions. You can restrict the people that's buying your token. Nowadays, you can even set up a bot, and this is obviously way more advanced, but you can even set up like different type of bots that you can give a contract address, like your token address that went viral, and the bot will kind of like, scan for scammers or people that are buying in suspicious behavior the token. So there's like so many ways of, like, this is like another whole conversation, but it's good to think about those things. But I think my answer is like, there's many ways. You would need to research about like, what happens if my token goes viral. And also you have to think about what I'm saying. Like, is your token available? Like, usually when tokens go viral, once they reach an amount of liquidity, the tokens automatically are aggregated by DEXs automatically. You don't even need to do anything. So your token automatically goes into like coin market, like all the DEXs out there, whatever. And you cannot restrict people from buying them, right? So it really depends of the business logic, what type of app do you have, if you want to have like a allow list, if you want to go public, all those like conditions like goes into more of the business logic than anything. And yeah, I really hope that you make your first million with your token. Then
Quick,
send us some as well.
yeah, royalty fees. Just there's a follow up to this. So they're saying more the angle of a contract is holding X ApeCoin and hackers trying to exploit transactions to drain the app. Yeah, so I think it's more towards like things like vaults and things like that, custodial.
Yeah, so yeah, our contracts, like I said, you can even read the audition that we had. So you can go into details and read what type of security audited contracts do we have. But essentially, yeah, like the contracts are secure and they're open source. So we're talking about blockchain. Everything is open source. So anyone will be able to see, what's holding in that contract, what's the contract, like what's the coin or the token value. All of that information will be public. And what TerWeb offers is like really secure ways of deploying a contract that they cannot be exploited, they cannot be hacked. But I mean, there's stories of stories. So this is more, again, I think, a business logic than anything. Make sure you have a good developer working with you that can think of these scenarios and use cases, and make sure to apply like security to anything that you're doing for real, right? Like,
Yeah,
but when it comes to the contract, like, yeah, like I think it's pretty hard to basically hack any type of smart contract. Like, I think it's more that people get hacked more than the actual contract get hacked, in my opinion.
yeah. Sometimes the contract is perfectly safe, but the user, for example, the user approves a transaction that wasn't supposed to be approved, or there are phishing attacks and all. So the
Yeah,
surface is way bigger than just auditing the contract itself.
exactly. One thing that I will mention is that when you deploy a contract, you deploy on you have an admin address. Make sure that admin address is safe. So maybe you want to use like a cold wallet, like a Ledger or something. Don't use like a MetaMask or something like that if you're talking about serious business. Try to be safe out there. If your wallet is the admin of that contract, try to have a cold wallet as the admin and everything. Don't just have
Multi-sig.
don't just have any wallet, because then your contract could be compromised. In that case, it's easier.
And he asked a quick follow-up question. Whenever you change that to the web contracts, and even I've seen that even the small changes. Oh, let me add a fee, and then this one line of Solidity code that you change can introduce like a rain transfer vulnerability or something else, or denial of service vulnerability. So any line of code, which is not like a comment, any line of code that actually changes the smart contract, you would need to audit again, right? The warranty, let's use this word loosely here, the safeguard of the audit is only for the smart contracts that are out of the shelf on the web. If you change a line of code, then you would need to audit again, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Like if you're changing the logic and the functionality and everything, essentially, if you're talking about serious business, you would have to audit that contract again, because every time that you change a line of code, you have to go and deploy the contract again. So you have to audit that. Um, but if you're just using the pre-built ones, the ones that I show, like that you can do a bunch of common things like launching a token, anything like that, those are completely audited and you don't need to audit them again. But if you're customizing them and it's not just a demo, it's a serious business, you will need to definitely audit that and make sure.
Also remember whose funds they are, because sometimes you're like something like a vault or something, so you're actually a custodian of someone else's funds. Then definitely get an audit, because that's not your money you're about to lose. It's if you're not like
Exactly.
holding on to any funds, then it's, I mean, I'm not saying it's not risky, it's just like it goes a little bit, it's not in the, let's say, red alert territory, but still like an orange amber alert something.
Yeah. Our friend Minty is getting a little scared with all of the security talk. So uploading anything to GitHub, when I can share my repository. Maybe you could explain about the git ignore as well, which makes your M file safe. But also he's asking about when is a good point to invite a collaborator, maybe a technical co-founder, a dev, to help him, or how to get a local version template in Cursor, push that to GitHub, and then invite a collaborator. Any suggestions for that? This, I guess, would be more general, but since we're speaking about
Yeah.
security, no? Right? So this could go in place.
Yeah, so don't be scared if you're just building a demo, like, and you're not using like real fonts or much fonts, like it's fine. Like no one is going to do anything. Just like make sure to use a EMB file like I showed before. Make sure to hide your keys in that EMB file. And if you're using GitHub and the repository is private, like, nothing is going to happen really. Then, like, when to invite a collaborator, like anytime, if you meet a developer, especially on a hackathon or whatever, like you meet a developer, you're working with other people collaborating, feel free to invite them into the repository. If you're building a demo, there's, basically, you shouldn't be scared. If you're then building like a real business, we're talking about a different thing. Like, you could even make the developer sign a contract or something. You can do a simple contract that they can sign to make sure that once you invite them into your repo, they're not doing crazy things. But the third option I would mention is, like, if you go open source, for example, like Third Web, it's completely open source and you can see our code, you can see everything. That's the best way to go, because like the more visibility you have, the less you're going to get hacked. But then I would recommend to research a little bit about how to save your API keys and secret keys in a secure way. Like I mentioned before, EMV files are completely fine. I recommended to use them a lot for demos and everything. But once you go into real business, you can get a AW as account on Amazon, or you can use Google. Google has like secret key ways of saving your secret key. So any of those options, I recommend to research a little bit more, spend more time on researching, like how do I save my keys in a secure way. Basically that's it. But when it comes to building a demo, you shouldn't be scared. Like, it's fine, nothing is going to happen.
That's a good recommendation, good balance. Would you have a follow-up from Inti as well? If I do invite a dev to take a look at my repo, am I inviting a vulnerability if they decide not to work together? So maybe Minty is asking about like IP protection. Also, there is this attack vector that they say that it's North Korean hackers and all that. They go review repositories to find details about like the infrastructure, how you handle your secrets, how your APIs are connecting, the frameworks and all, supply chain, like the versions of your NPM packages. And then they use this information to attack projects. This is a very extreme case, but it might happen, right? So G and Alok, what are your recommendations here to ground Minty a little of what we should be worried about and what is okay to take those risks?
I mean, first, I would say that like you can invite a developer to take a look at your code, but at the same time, like have like a layer that is like separate. Or of course, not gonna share the private keys or anything like that. If your product is actually live, do not ever share your private keys with anyone. Like that's just general rule. If you and most of your contracts, the owner should not be like just an EOA. They should be like a multi-sig or something. So in case someone wants to make a change, they do not actually, even if they have access to the private key, they cannot make any major changes without actually other signers actually approving it. So those add as an extra layer of protection. But I would say that like if you're gonna like hire a programmer for your project, like first thing is actually like you do a vibe check with the dev, right? What sort of person you're actually like looking forward to, because like it's true, like Web3 is, because it's so open source, like there's way more transparency. The contracts are all public, all the funds are public, so there is a higher chance of an exploit, and we see that in real world as well. And I won't say that like because your contract was audited or it was built by some like really well-known agency, that means like you're immune. I think there's always a chance of an attack vector. Your job is actually to like minimize it, but at the end of the day, like people are not looking for an open door, they're looking for like a small keyhole sized like vulnerability that are usually that actually end up becoming the attack vectors. So there's no 100% in this space. Like you just have to like accept that you have to be careful, and you can just go forward with the best security practices that you want to follow. But again, like there's no 100% in this space because of the transparency as well. So there's like that's the trade-off.
That's true. And G made a good point about make your project open source. If that is like a secret part of IP and all that you need to protect, okay, you can make it like a model separate, something like that. But if your smart contracts are open source, if your front end is open source and all, you can find open source collaborators. Maybe benefit them with tokens, with allocation, or just with visibility, with being part of a community, something like that. It can bring some perks. And yes, for the private part of your project, you would need to have some contract, some ongoing relationship, do a vibe check with the providers and all that you're working with. Just make sure that You are not assuming any new risks for your project, right? Very good. And a question about the third web subscriptions directly. If this one is for you, G. What do we need to know about the different third web subscriptions, and what are the boundaries of what we are getting access as part of this program? Maybe he's asking about the code that we're going to send
Yes.
for the participants, for people that submitted the homework only. Okay, if you want to have access to the code, submit the homework, and then we're going to send this code. And what are different access and subscriptions that they're going to
Yeah,
be
that's a
able to
great
access?
question. So yeah, once you submit your your homework, we will be sending out some codes. I think I'm sharing my screen right here. Oh yeah, can you maybe
Yeah, got
add?
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So basically, if you go to thirdweb.com/pricing, you can see all our plans there. Uh, we have different plans that includes different things, of course, from starter to pro, which are more like enterprise level plans. And you can like basically read here like some of the things that includes in there. You can also go like a bit, like scroll down a bit, and you can see like, for example, how many wallets you can create for free, or if then you have like more than 100,000 wallets, like we will start charging per active user, not per wallet, per active user. You can kind of see all the things here that like payments, like this is the transaction fee for payments, for example, RPC, it's included for 1 million transaction, which is great. Like you can use ApeCoin to call different endpoints and everything, and 1 million transactions will be included, 1 million calls. Also for account abstraction, which we were talking about, like sponsor gas and everything, like for starter you have like 1,000 included, and then after that we will charge the amount that it's saying here depending on the plan basically. But yeah, if you want to go more in detail, go to /pricing at thirdweb.com, and you can see what's included in every plan depending on the project type, if you're starting, if you're already like growing your app. And yeah, you can see here like includes everything basically. You can use like even with the starter plan, which will probably be giving some coupons for a starter plan for a month, 2 months, let's see, depending on how good the homework is. The starter plan includes everything. Like you can use RPC, you can use wallets, you can use contract. Just watch out for basically the rate limits that we have. They're usually very big, so like unless you're doing like massive deployment, like thousands and thousands of contracts, you should be fine. In any case, like I mentioned before, if you're having an issue, if you don't understand the rate limiting, if you happen to have an error that it's like rate limit, contact support our team basically at ThirdWeb, and we will be very, very happy to help out, check your account and see what's going on if you're getting rate limit or something. But basically in here you have all the details for each plan and everything.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So if you got it correctly, make sure that you have your homework. It should be in your email. Okay, check your email for the form, for the homework. We're still uh, waiting for some people, not waiting, like you have a deadline for submission so that you can send you the code. If you have personal problems and you had to drop off of the problem, no worries. But if you're following through here, you should submit your homework, and then G is going to send you an email with the invite for having this code, so that you can have 1, maybe 2 months free for you to test out web and build your app with that. Okay. Yeah, that is a first homework. Almost all of you completed. If you still need to complete it, please do the heads up. But there is a second week homework that I've sent for your email. Okay, you can find it in the Luma page as well. You do need to complete it for finishing the prototype part. We're going to have a third week homework coming tomorrow. So let's not let it snowball. Let's keep up the pace with the camp so that everyone can have a chance to demo at the end, right? Good, good. Any closing thoughts, Alok, G?
Yeah, I would say like thank you, G. That was like quite. That was an amazing session. I think like we covered a lot in just like a short session. I mean, I would say like for one session, I think we covered almost like all the major parts, deploying contracts, like like how would you actually essentially pre-verified contracts, gasless transactions, a lot of use cases and how you can actually like get started, especially like if you're a beginner. So thank you so much for that, for taking the time and showcasing. And again, thank you, Third Web, for offering our community with the codes to get started and using Third Web in a more, let's say, if you want to scale like this would be perfect. We have like multiple plans for you, but again, as a reminder, submit your homeworks. And again, like if you have any thoughts, we feel free to share them. Otherwise, we can close this session.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you guys for inviting us. I've watched the previous sessions and they all have been like really good. I love what you guys are doing, and I think vibe coding is the thing right now, and not just like a trend. I actually think it's useful. Like I actually think it's really good whether you're technical or not technical. Vibe coding is really something that everyone should be implementing right now, and there's so many tools. So I think you guys are doing a great job at showcasing like a little bit of how to start. So thank you so much from the Third Web team, and we're happy to offer codes. We're happy to help with their people's apps, that projects. Like just send us an email, send us a ticket, and we're always happy. Our team is always happy to help out with anything, questions, errors, issues that you might be having. Let us know. And yeah, thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you all. I guess that's it for today.
Thank you so much. And I think like we can call off this session. So for anyone, like have the rest of the happy enjoy rest of your day. Sorry.
Yeah, and keep an eye out on your emails for the homeworks and the announcement for the next sessions. We're still going to have James. We're still going to have some cool stuff coming. So keep an eye out for your emails on the Luma page, and we're going to have a lot of exciting announcements and keep going with the camp for the next week and last week of building. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.